I've been asked to help escort Asian buyers on the annual soybean sampling tour, covering 6 states, or portions of 6 states in the Western Corn Belt for soybeans that are produced and shipped out to the West Coast and to overseas crushers. So we've been covering, I picked these guys up in Fargo on Friday last week, and we've been combining beans every day, all during the week and on weekends. And we'll continue to do so for another 5 or 6 days. We'll be out in Nebraska and Kansas before we finish and wrap up in Omaha.
What do you do for a living then, Mike?
I'm an agricultural economist. I analyze grain and oilseed markets for commercial firms. But I'm being a taxi cab driver for the 2-week period that I'm here.
And you're based in?
I'm based out of Lisle, Illinois, suburb of Chicago.
Mike, the WASDE report will be coming out here tomorrow. The trade believes it'll be production numbers will be going up. From what you're seeing in the crop sampling report, what's your take on production numbers here and future numbers?
Yeah, we have a crop that was coming off a little late this year, but I would say that all the stuff that we've seen initially here has really been quite positive. There are certain localized areas that have had just way too much water during the growing season, but the growing season has really been quite beneficial, which is the reason USDA's cranked out these record corn and soybean yield numbers. People have been really quite impressed with what they've seen on the quality of beans this year out in the Dakotas, and harvest is just rocking and rolling since this weekend. So I've been pretty impressed with yield numbers that I've been hearing. Certainly that we've been combining, and producers seem to be pretty happy overall with the quality of the beans that they're bringing off and how quickly they're coming out.
How about the buyers as well?
The buyers I think they learn a lot, not only just about production. This isn't, even though it's a soybean sampling tour, it's not about the beans, but it's also about the people who make those beans. And it's about the handling systems and everything. And this tour, I think, has been really good, even though we've come from weather that's been right down at freezing level when we were up in the Red River Valley to some pretty nice days over the last couple as we've been combining beans out here. I think they're really quite impressed with what they see, and they really enjoy the hospitality of Iowa producers and the grain handling system that you have here in all of these states.
From what you're saying, do you believe that, what's your impression? Do you think USDA might be in the next coming reports, not only tomorrow's report, but November's and the final report, these numbers will keep going up?
I would suspect so. I mean, USDA, they try not to be, too aggressive until you actually figure out what you've got. I think any soybean producer realizes that, until it's in the bin, you don't really know exactly what you're going to have. But I would expect these numbers tomorrow to be bigger. I think the trade expects that. That certainly isn't a surprise. We haven't seen anything that would counteract any of that. And then I would suspect that we probably would go up again maybe in November, as long as we can get these beans out. A lot of people will probably, by the time the November crop report comes out, they'll be all done with harvest. It'll all be over. It won't be somebody's opinion. It'll be all done. And then we'll get an annual revision, maybe with some acreage adjustments or something like that in January. But we have a very good crop out here, certainly in the areas that we've seen out here in the Western Corn Belt.
How do you think, that said, what do you think how that'll impact Midwest growers in the future then?
Probably the biggest issue that we've heard back from growers is that the soybean price still remains relatively strong relative to the corn market itself. And so really the economics are sort of leaning in the favor of growing beans again. We're coming out of a year with record bean acres, and we had corn acreage decline. With the depressed corn prices and the strong bean prices, it shouldn't be too much surprise to any producer out there that they'll probably be leaning toward oilseed production again for 2015 if these prices hold at the relative levels that we've got right now.
Anything that you've seen, will it impact, with some of the information coming out of the Midwest states, will that impact some of the decisions being made in South America on planting and growing?
Probably not. I mean, it depends on the individual countries you're dealing in, but if you have a weak corn market relative to soybeans in the United States, you've got a weak corn market relative to soybeans worldwide. So the economics that the producer faces in Iowa isn't really structurally too different than maybe what a producer would face in Brazil or Argentina, major competitors. So I think the world is going to be moving in the direction of growing more oilseeds if we're going to maintain this price relationship. So, standing here today, I have no idea what's going to happen in the spring next year or where prices might be over the next few weeks or months. My view would be is you're looking at more oilseed acres for 2015 and less corn acres out there.
So dealing with like the competition from canola or rapeseed or any of those other commodities, could these lower soybean prices compared to what we've seen the last couple of years push back more sales to soy, do you think?
Well, yeah, we'll have to move it. That's why marketing activities from Iowa Soybean Association are extremely important, because as you grow a bigger crop, guess what? You've got to move it to final end users. And so not only should you be looking for big crops this year, but you should also be looking for big crops again in 2015 as well.